Hello, arty peoples, and welcome to the very first episode of 2022. I don't know about you, but I am very excited. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to continue the saga of Jerry's Live. And this is the very first show of the year, and I am so excited. I hope you all have had a wonderful break, safe and great New Year's celebration, all the good times. But we have a lot of really fun things planned this year. I have gotten together with quite a few people, and we have plans in the mix, and it's gonna be so much fun. The first thing that we have officially decided to do is cover a lot of information about canvas. And so I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, especially art supply related. Sometimes it's really weird trivia, but the one thing I do kind of not have the best of knowledge with is canvas. And that's one of those things that I've kind of just struggled with myself, and I've always wanted to learn more. And it's so hard to kind of jump into it because there is just so much canvas, whether or not it's stretched or not stretched or whatever. So we just decided that it would be a great time to start off the year with that knowledge. And I'm going to actually be bringing in the big guns. I'm going to be bringing in the well, Katie's just doing these because she's my height. So the big little guns, she's got guns, you know, different kind of guns. But she is the one with all of the canvas knowledge, and she is a world of knowledge in general. So I am so excited to be bringing on one of my besties and co-workers here at JerrysArtarama, Heather Goldstein. Hi.
It's Canvas Palooza month.
Yes, it's Canvas Palooza. I'm so excited. Yep. So this is part one,
yes,
officially. So we are going to be going over only the types of canvas. Now, this is not going to include anything stretched or panels or anything else because we're going to get into that later because we're going to have 4 shows.
Oh, yeah.
Four of them, all different sections. So you're going to be seeing this lovely lady with me for the next 4 shows. But if you are interested in checking out whatever we're going over, make sure you go to the website JerrysArtarama.com and type in the search code in the search bar. The search code for today's class is JL223. So if you type that in, all of the things that we are covering today should come up. But we are only going over, even though we're going to go over a lot of different things, it's still only a small portion.
Yeah.
There's so much.
We're going over a lot, but
yeah.
I tried to break this down. Emmy and I both tried to break this down and get you the most information possible and the most useful information possible. So I guess, do you want to just go and dive on in?
Yeah.
All right. So what we have here is unprimed cotton. So cotton is going to be your general canvas. It's a shorter thread that's woven together, but this is kind of your go-to. It's your more economical choice usually. These are unprimed cottons.
So there's nothing on either side. No tricks up our sleeves.
Just cotton. So I just pulled here a number 12 and a number 10. I wanted to explain the numbering. I don't know why the numbers are like this, but a number 12 is 12 ounce, makes sense. A number 10 is 15 ounce. Why? We don't know. And a number 8 is 18 ounce. So either way, that just has to do with how heavy the canvas is. These are all going to have a very tight, uniform weave and just have a different weight. The one that Emmy had just pushed away, the Army Duck.
Let's do this. Haha. Right in the middle.
Army Duck is 8 ounces. 8 ounces?
We have a cheat sheet because there's a lot of things that we had to remember.
Sorry. 10 ounces.
Yes.
And it's smooth. So this one it's not going to have that same
rough texture. Now, guys, just so you all know, I am here to ask those just ridiculous questions because I don't know all things, canvas. And, if you have questions, feel free to type it in the chat because we have our moderators, Frida and Amanda, manning that. But I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. So for me, you said these are both 8 ounces.
No, I did, and I was wrong.
I mean, okay.
But no, this is, the number 10 is 15 ounces.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
number 10 is 15 ounces. Because I was like,
Yeah.
this feels,
Yeah.
just when I'm feeling it, it feels heavier.
Yeah.
And a little bit more dense.
That is 15 ounces.
Okay.
The Army Duck I thought was 8 ounces, but it is actually 10 ounces.
Okay.
So this is a little bit lighter weight than your number 12 standard unprimed cotton.
Okay.
But the Army Duck specifically is a very smooth surface.
Now, if anybody is looking for the weight of a canvas or the details of those things, where would they find that on the website?
If you go onto the canvas page, you can either look in the copy or in tech notes on each individual item, and it'll have the information there.
So the copy is like that big just chunk of blurb at the top of the page. The tech notes, though, I do know this, is if you are on that line item on our website, JerrysArtarama.com, and there is a yellow button that looks kind of like a page that's starting to fold down, that is our tech notes button. That has all of those details that you guys are looking for. So that's a really good resource when you are looking, especially at canvas. But as far as these comparatively, why would you use one over the other?
That's mostly going to have to do with how big you're painting and how heavy the paint is. So if you're painting really large, you would want to use a heavier weight canvas. If you are doing something very fine portrait, then you want to try to use the Army Duck for that smooth surface.
Okay. Also, other question, why is it Army Duck? Did it go through basic training, and is it a veteran now?
I don't know, but I'm going to say yes. I mean, that's not the real answer, but
We'll have to
that's
figure
the
that
right
out.
now answer. It went through basic training.
That's, in my mind, it did. And if we can actually, let's jump over to the one camera that's a little over here so I can show you guys really. So this right here is the Army Duck. Sorry, I just gotta also double check. This is the 10 ounce, or the Cotton Duck number 10, the second one. And then the number 12 is underneath. So you guys can really see the different weaves for these. So you guys can really get kind of a feel for exactly what they look like. We're trying to make sure you guys can really see this. Ooh, weave of canvas. All right, so do we have any questions as far as cotton, unprimed cotton canvas is concerned right now? Yes.
Robin on YouTube asks, so the lower the number, less texture, less weave?
No, the lower the number, if it's like a number 12, number 10, number 8, the lower the number, the higher the weight. So
And that's like the weight,
heavier.
the actual weight of a canvas. So they put it on a scale.
it doesn't have anything to
thing.
do with like the surface texture being different in any way. I mean, a heavier weight canvas is going to be a little bit rougher.
Yeah.
Yes.
MJ Pete on YouTube chimed in that Army Duck was canvas used in tents in World War I.
MJP.
Hey.
Yes, buddy. Thank you
Thank
for that
you.
answer, because I was so curious, and I didn't actually ask Heather before the show, so
Nope.
I just kind of sprung that question on her.
And I did not know.
But that is cool to know. Okay, so the other question I do have is, because this is cotton, that's the actual material that is woven into this, can you just use any old cotton? Or is there, like, why would I use this over, like, a t-shirt?
It has to do with the weave, the way that it's woven. Yes, if it's the cotton in your 100% cotton t-shirt is not very different from this. It has to do with the weight of the cotton and also what weave they're using.
Okay.
So these canvases are meant to be woven tightly so that paint's not going to permeate through them, whereas a t-shirt a lot of times is going to maybe have a slightly looser weave.
Yep.
Because you want it to be breathable.
Yeah, nobody wants a very thick t-shirt unless you are in Alaska. Okay, so the next chunk of canvas that we have
A
is...
question real quick
oh,
about
yes.
the unprimed. Would you use the same techniques for all three to prime them? you prime them all the same, essentially?
Yes.
No matter what the weave, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's, by the way, that is priming, which we will get into more of detail in our, further shows.
Yeah.
We're mostly covering the types of canvas.
Right.
But the details about how to prime and things like that, we will get into that. So make sure you guys
Stay tuned.
stay tuned for the next 4 shows.
Canvas Palooza.
Yes.
Cheryl on YouTube would like to know, how large a painting can you use the army duck on since it is smoother?
It's still pretty hefty.
Yeah, like
it's
this
a
is
very
pretty
tight
substantial.
weave, 10 ounce. So you can still use it for something large. I don't think that the roll actually comes all that large. I think it's like 63
60.
inches. So you're not going to be doing like a 12-foot painting with this, but it is still a very hefty canvas. It's just a very smooth texture.
Yeah, I'd say for this one, you are going to be more restricted by what it comes in, like the size of the actual canvas roll.
Yeah.
So if it only comes in 63 inches, you are stuck with those parameters of your materials.
Right.
And Colleen is wondering if the smoothness of the weave is standard across most manufacturers.
For Army or
Yeah. Is all army duck gonna be essentially the same feel?
yeah, it's supposed to be like a smooth duck canvas. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the rest of them, they do kind of vary, though.
Yeah.
From brand to
We'll
brand.
see that a lot more in the linens when we get there.
Because that 12 ounces, it's only the weight. It's not the weave or kind of how it's put
Right.
together, right?
Right.
Okay, so the next chunk of canvas that we have is primed cotton.
Yes.
I had to actually look because I couldn't remember.
So we have, the first one I wanted to show is the Spectrum All Media 12 ounce. This is basically that number 12 cotton, but with gesso on it. So this one's just primed and ready to go.
Yep. So this is essentially the same, but it probably seems a little lighter on the camera because you can see that gesso or the priming.
And then Spectrum canvases, you can get the 15 ounce or 10 ounce, whatever you need with the prime surface. They also have an 8 ounce super smooth, which is, they have an 8 ounce regular and then the 8 ounce super smooth, which has more priming, I believe.
Which I think,
Yeah, it's triple primed for
Yep.
the super smooth.
and that's why it is a little bit smoother, right? But if you actually look at the back, you can see the texture of those canvases,
Right.
which is really cool.
And then I pulled out the Paramount double primed cotton. So this one is a 7 ounce cotton, and then the weight when it's primed is 11 ounces. This is actually pretty similar, all in all, to the super smooth, but I did want, I'm not sure if you can see it on, maybe
Here,
on that
let's-
camera, you can see it a
yeah.
little bit better.
See if we can get that close up.
It's a different
Pretty shot.
manufacturer, so kind of getting back to that point, it's a different manufacturer, so the canvas is slightly different. The priming that they're using is different.
See if I can
It's a
get that.
universal primer. Both of them are a universal primer, but it's a different
Do it
primer.
this way, maybe. So this right here is the Spectrum. Oh, let me kind of make sure it's a little bit split. This right here is the Spectrum, and this is the Paramount.
You can't really see what you're pointing to.
Sorry. It is hard to do this.
On the left,
I am-
Heather point to it while you hold it.
There you go. Point.
spectrum.
A little higher.
Spectrum.
We do this all the time, guys. All right,
Yes.
we have a question?
Devandy is asking if this is oil or acrylic prime.
This is all acrylic primed.
Yes, we have not gotten into the oil primed canvas just yet.
Yeah.
This section is just, and this is only acrylic primed cotton.
Yeah, and these are just a few samples, but I did want to show, if you're just looking at the numbers on these canvases, these two are very similar, but the priming on this one is a lot smoother.
This one.
Yeah, on the Paramount is a lot smoother even than the super smooth Spectrum. So
And I feel like that even comes across on the camera. Like this just seems
Yeah.
a little rougher.
When they're
which
next to
is,
each other.
Yeah. So,
but did you want to move on to the next?
yes, this is the fancy.
So this one's fun. El Greco Primed Cotton. It's an absorbent ground on 100% cotton.
There we go.
It is triple primed by hand, and this makes
to be on
for a really
There's
great,
the back of it. You guys can see that.
yeah, it makes for a great fresco surface. You can use it with egg tempera or even gouache.
Now this right here, just so everyone is aware, this is the raw edge where the primer starts here. So this is not something that you would want to stretch on the top of your canvas. Like you'd need to fold that under. But just in case anybody's wondering, this is actually the raw cotton here, and it is so smooth. It is such a smooth surface. Like I feel like, what would this particularly, in your opinion, what would this be really, really good for as far as types of art?
Actually, mixed media. So, like I was saying, you know, egg tempera or frescoes, things like that.
And didn't you say
Any sort of, yeah.
dry media too?
You can use dry media
Right?
on it as well. So you could even use pastels or charcoal because it is that absorbent ground, but it has a little bit of a tooth.
All right, I'm trying to get that like pretty shot. I'm also trying to look around the camera. Very nice. So in comparison, this is that Paramount that was the smoother option of the other two. And then if you look at them side by side, here's the El Greco and here's the Paramount. The Paramount has just a little bit more texture. Yeah, there we go. You guys can see. Ooh, canvas. All right, and then what do we got?
Finally, going from that mixed media canvas into our favorite mixed media canvas, we have the Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Forget, there's an exclamation
There is an
point.
exclamation point. You have to say it with gusto.
Yes. So this is a mixed media canvas, or an all media canvas that can take
Here we go.
oil, acrylic, ink, gouache, watercolor, technical pens, markers, pretty much anything that you want to throw at it, you can.
Which is, I believe, why it's called Yes. Like,
Yes.
can I put that on there? The
Yes.
answer is
You can.
yes. So this is, as far as mixed media surfaces are concerned, I have used this and do use this all the time, and I absolutely adore it. I do know when it comes to like the watercolor media, it doesn't exactly work like watercolor paper. It's not a paper.
Right.
So just keep that in mind, especially if you are trying to do like a watercolor on the surface.
Also, if you are painting a watercolor, it usually helps to wet it first
That's good to know. I
and
didn't
then
know that.
paint in watercolor.
Now,
It's kind of
wet it first, let it dry, and then paint, or work wet on wet?
you could do both.
Okay. Good to know. Because I like, if I want to do like a spot of like watercolor and keep it controlled in one area, I would still want to wet the whole
Yeah.
surface just to
Right.
kind of get it ready to absorb my watercolor, I guess, right?
Right.
Cool. That is good to know. Also, again, a comparison between the two, side by side. Let's do it this way. They're both actually fairly similar. Again, this is the El Greco. This is the Yes. I'm gonna try and look around this camera. Sorry. Hopefully I can get that texture on there for you guys. Do we have any questions on these primed cotton canvases while we are showing off, or at least I'm trying to show off this texture? Yes, no, no, no?
We just had a whole conversation about the Yes, so I'm so glad that you had the canvas and ready to talk
Oh, yeah.
about it.
Yeah, no, we love our Yes canvas.
Yes.
But after primed cotton, we have a weird thing that I actually did not know was a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It is polyester and poly cotton, right?
Yes.
Please explain. I am so confused.
Well, polyester, I mean, any of these fabrics, they're what we use in our clothing. So, polyester, same thing. It is a synthetic fabric. It's basically plastic, but it does not retain moisture, so it makes it very archival, and it's more resistant to wrinkling.
Yes. It took us a solid minute to remember that word earlier.
The word
Yeah,
wrinkle.
we were like,
Yeah.
wrinkle. It doesn't wrinkle, so
Doesn't wrinkle.
Which, I mean, it makes sense, because if you guys go back to your poly cotton blend t-shirt or pants, whatever you had, we all had it, don't lie. It wasn't so wrinkly, and that was kind of the allure of those clothes, that they didn't wrinkle. So that would make sense.
Right.
This would be kind of similar. I also, isn't this not so saggy if it's going to be stretched?
Yes.
Just as a technical term, saggy.
The polyester is stronger than cotton and more resilient, and it'll hold a lot more weight. So it has that, plus because it's a synthetic fiber, you can get it extremely smooth, whereas cotton or linen are natural fibers. So you're dealing with some little lumps and bumps. You just, a natural fiber does its own thing. So the polyester canvases are just completely smooth.
That's awesome. So let's see what we got. The first one
is the Bellarti Corbei. This is a poly cotton blend, and this is the smoothest, most yummy canvas.
Yes. It's
like
I
butter.
love it so much.
And this is in comparison to like the Yes canvas. Like the Yes canvas I thought was like the smoothest of smooth.
Yeah.
As well as even the El Greco. But like these have more of a texture.
You have some
whereas like
too.
this, as Amanda so eloquently put, smooth like butter. I
Yes.
love it. I love it. It is
Really great for ink, for technical pens or markers even. It's just a
There's the back, in case you guys wanted to see.
super, super smooth surface.
And so this is not a full polyester. This is a poly blend.
Poly cotton blend.
Nice.
Yes.
So polyester and cotton.
Right.
And I would show you the texture on this one up close, but there's no texture to show you. It's just that smooth.
And on the other side,
Yes, now this I can show you guys for sure.
the Roma Affresco.
A fesco. There's no R in there because I kept wanting to call it a fresco.
Yep,
But it's a fesco.
It's not a fresco.
Yep. So there's the texture of that. Let me
Yeah.
kind of keep it there so I can really focus. There we go. And then in comparison, here is the
To the
super
plain white
smooth.
sheet.
It's just, it disappears into nothingness.
Yeah.
So now, this right here, the texture, the rough texture, we were talking about different uses for this, and I think we might have figured out another video that we're just going to have to do, because when we were looking up alternative uses for specifically this like funky texture, they were talking about wall coverings.
Yeah. Decorative wall coverings.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like a painting is a decorative wall covering anyways, but
yeah, technically. But I kind of like I need to be renter friendly, and so I think I'm gonna have to put this on my walls.
It's not renter friendly.
I mean,
command strips.
This is why Katie gets me to not do things that I shouldn't be doing, but I might try it anyway. But if you do this, don't be mad if it's not renter friendly. Don't take my word for it. But it is very cool as far as the texture is concerned. It's got such a beautiful texture, and I feel like, especially with like palette knife painting, that would look absolutely gorgeous. People that do a lot of textural work, things that would maybe the modeling paste would also be really fun to put onto this to add more texture to it. Regardless of that, I could even see this being used just as a flat painting for a landscape.
Yeah.
Right? But, I mean, the texture is gorgeous. And again, it is a poly blend. Right? Poly blend, or is this all polyester?
poly blend.
So there's the back of that one. And then here's the other one, so you guys can see just the difference of those Right? Beautiful. All right, then the last one
Is Artfix P72u. So this is a straight polyester canvas. It is extremely thin and smooth, but because it's polyester, it's very strong. So people will use these for, you know, large scale paintings or mural paintings, and the polyester can hold up pretty well to those large sizes and even heavier paint applications.
Yeah, now here's the back of it for you guys to see. It is, because it is all straight polyester, like I just want to, you can hear that polyester kind of weird, kind of scratchy sound. It's I don't know why I keep doing that, I'm sorry. But it is very smooth, and that's the one thing, even though it is so smooth and so light and so thin, it seems like the most resistant to any kind of stretch. Like this is not stretchy at all.
Right.
Like there is no give to this. These are not stretchy pants. But it is still primed. These are all primed, right? These are all primed and ready to go as far as to paint on the surfaces. Let me make sure they're all, there you go. It's hard to tell that there's another canvas in here. All right, so do we have any questions on the polyester canvas and poly blends before we move on to our next category?
We have a question more about priming,
Okay.
like why you would use a 1-time, 2-time, or 3-time primed canvas, and like what the difference is there.
Okay.
The smoothness.
I would say that is a valid question to the show, because we, again, like I said, we're going to get into priming in our further shows that we're going to be doing, but that one is definitely valid to this show. Like, I will say, we'll get into more of the different priming levels as we go on, and you can really see the difference. The more priming you have, right, on a canvas, the smoother it's going to be.
Right.
Because usually when they do it, they put the primer on, they sand it, then they put another coat.
Yeah.
So it's going to get nice and smooth. All right. Next category we have is our biggest one.
Wait,
We have
yeah. Sorry, last minute question came in. If the primed poly doesn't stretch, how does it stretch?
It doesn't have any like give to it.
Yeah,
So how
so
difficult
that-
is this to stretch?
It is difficult to stretch
Okay.
because it doesn't have give. But it's not impossible to stretch it, it's just more.
Maybe this is one of the
just
ones
harder.
that we stretch for our stretching show.
Sure.
She's not happy about that. Okay, so maybe I stretch this one? I'm not
about it.
good at stretching. We'll discuss this, but this might be one that we work on stretching for our stretching show,
Yeah.
which I believe is going to be the 4th show that we do, the 4th and final
Yes.
finale. We're
Canvas Palooza.
gonna actually go through all of the stretching processes and steps and things that you would need to do for all of the different types of canvas, which I'm very excited for, because that's the stuff that like we all really need to know.
Yeah.
Like why you would do one thing versus another. But that's another show.
But first, let's talk about linen.
Yes. Our biggest section that we have, just because
I couldn't make any decisions on cutting things down.
our just personal preference is linen, so I think it kind of shows here. And I honestly am not mad about it, but you know, again, we're trying to give you the most of the like just generic information. So even though we're not showing you everything in every category, we did want to kind of cover the basics. So
Right.
jump
And
in.
So these are the New York Central linens. They are Belgian linen, Belgian is like your cream of the crop. That's the one to go to.
Why?
The flax plant in Belgium is just, it's a better crop there. And because of that, they've been doing it for so long. The weavers and people like that, it goes back centuries and centuries.
Generations and-
yeah,
They've had plenty
they
of
have a
time to
very,
perfect their craft.
very long history of
So they know what they're doing.
this.
Nice. Okay, so that's why Belgian linen.
Belgian linen.
Yes.
Love it.
And chocolate.
And chocolate. Anybody in that area, feel free to send us linen and chocolate. Frida's shaking her head, yes.
The New York Central linens they just go by a letter. So the L is their fine portrait weave, and then M is more of a universal, and then J it's a medium. This one's great because it is like a medium to heavy weight. Actually, it's kind of heavy for a
It
linen.
is a little heavier.
But it's a very fine weave, so it's
dense though.
yeah,
Like
so
it's-
it's dense,
Yeah.
basically. So you have a nice uniform medium surface.
Here, let's do this, and that
this
way I
is
can
definitely-
hopefully get you guys to see all three of them together. Just because it is comparatively really good to see the differences. Oh, here, there we go. Angle it. There you go. All right, so this right here, let me pull it forward. This is it's just really dense. This is the J. So it is still super fine and nice and smooth, but it is definitely very sturdy, and it's got a nice weight to it. The M you said was like our middle kind of all-purpose linen. It's, again, still very finely woven and has that beautiful, like, softness to the surface texture. And then this right here is probably my favorite. Just because I do a lot of portraiture, and so that really super fine weave is what gets me every time.
I'm actually glad you brought up the softness because linen actually maintains the oils,
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons why it's a better fiber for these canvases. So the linen fibers are longer than canvas because they're longer, they're stronger. They also, the oils themselves make them resistant to mold and mildew. So
linen is mold resistant.
Yes,
That is so cool.
yes. Not
Remember
to say
you-
that it's impossible, but
Yes, it can happen in the right conditions, but as far as linen compared to cotton,
yes,
it
Much.
definitely.
much better.
And I totally forgot about the oils and the fiber. We had talked about this earlier.
Yep.
But there are all three of the New York Central linens for you guys to see. All right. Now,
Then we have the Bellarti linens.
I'm just going to hand you the stack.
So, Bellarti linens come from Italy. I love Italy.
This one, oh, I forgot the sticker. I'm sorry.
And one thing that you'll notice about Italian linens versus Belgian linens, Italian linens sometimes seem smoother than French or Belgian, and it's because they iron their linen.
Like with an actual iron,
yes.
like you're ironing your shirts.
This is,
They iron
fashion capital of the world. Like
that.
they're just
All right.
you gotta look fresh.
I like it. I like
Even your
it.
campus. So for the Bellarti linens, we have the portrait weave, which is a beautiful light canvas.
Yeah, you guys can actually, this is probably the best way to show you. If I put my hand underneath there, you can actually kind of see my hand through it. That's how light this is.
So that one is a 5.8 ounce. And then the fine weave, which is 9.45 ounces, but it's a very tight weave, so it's very smooth also. It's just a little bit more hefty than that one.
So this one you wouldn't really be able to see my hand through as much. You can kind of, because it is still a raw linen, but not nearly as much as this one.
Right.
So you guys can really see the difference there.
And then we have the universal weave, which is just kind of your medium go-to all-purpose, I guess. That one's 8.9 ounces. And then the Goliath, which is the heavier weight, it's 11.2 ounce. And this was what you would use for, you know, mural painting or something really large or something where you're going to be putting a lot of paint down.
So the bigger the canvas you go, the more hefty the weight of the canvas and kind of the thicker
Right.
you want it to be, just
Right.
so it can kind of stand up to,
Well, this is your foundation.
yeah,
So you want to make sure that your foundation
nice and strong.
is strong and appropriate for what you're putting on it.
Which is why this one right here, because it is so smooth, it's called the portrait weave, again, because if you're doing portraiture, you don't want a whole lot of texture to your canvas, because then, you know, you have a weird texture that goes across someone's face, and you're like, what's happening there? I don't know.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's the 4 different Bellarti, and I do apologize, I forgot the sticker on this one. This is the,
The
what's the number
fine.
there?
That one's just the fine.
Yes, so we have portrait, fine, universal, and Goliath.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's
universal and Goliath.
596 fine.
Okay, 596. So let's keep it going. Do we have any questions on these so far?
Good.
All right.
Well, we have more.
We have more.
Moving around the world from Belgium to Italy to China. These are the Soho Linens. And these...
I'm gonna actually turn these sideways so we can see the number.
That's a good
Just that way. This is a little upside down, and I'm sorry. Here, I can fix. It's a sticker.
The
Haha.
Soho linens are a great, more economical option. They are 100% linen. They,
Attached.
the 42 is kind of, I don't think any of these are really like a portrait.
No, I would say anything, it might get a little close with this one, but it's still got a lot of texture to it
Right.
for the portraiture.
Right.
But these are, compared to the Bellarti and the New York Central, these are the more affordable
Yes.
options. So if,
Right.
compared to the other 2 brands that we had shown you guys, if you guys are starting to look into getting your own linens, this might be a good starting point, because they are so affordable comparatively. Here, let's do this and move it over. Yay! All right. Hopefully you guys can see it all. Yeah. So the 42, tell me about this one right here.
The 42, 12.7 ounces.
And it is
On that one?
quite thin as well.
These,
You can kind of see my hand through it.
well, these, the ounce weights are a little misleading on these because the ounce weights are based on a yard and these rolls have different lengths. So let's
That
just
makes
talk
sense.
about the
The heaviness
what,
of it.
how
yeah.
we feel.
Yeah.
What we
This is
feel.
like a nice thin, it seems very light and kind of airy.
Right.
So it's got a lot of like, the weave isn't super tight, it's not super dense, it's very nice and light.
Yes.
Which seems like it would be a nice kind of starter for somebody jumping into like linen.
Yeah. Also, you can, with more coats of primer, you could make that a very
Dense.
smooth portrait linen.
Oh yeah, because remember again, as you do your priming, you layer it on, you sand it, then you. But again, we'll get into that later on.
Yeah.
But you can make a raw linen or cotton much beefier
Yes.
with more priming.
Yes.
Question.
Speaking of priming, these ones that are very light, where you can see through them, how, once you gesso them, would you no longer be able to see through them? There's a concern that you would be able to see the bars through the linen.
No, because you would be putting enough primer on there that, there are multiple coats that have to go into this. So once it's primed, you wouldn't be able to see through it, even if it is a very fine linen.
Yeah. Now this 38 is definitely more densely packed.
just to reiterate, you do want to prime all of these. You don't want
Yes.
to paint on them unprimed. Right.
Do not paint on raw cotton
Okay.
or linen.
Technically, you can paint
Sure.
on raw cotton and linen with acrylics. You will lose a lot of your paint.
Yeah,
because
that's-
it is extremely absorbent.
That's what I was about to say. The reason why you prime it is to give it a barrier between the
For the
fibers.
acrylics.
Yeah, the
But
fibers
for
that soak up
oils-
all of your paints.
Oils you cannot paint on raw fabric because the oils will degrade the canvas and it will die.
Yes.
It will die over time.
Yes. The oil automatically just starts kind of eating the fibers, which is the same reason why you don't paint oil on paper unless it is specifically primed for oil.
Right.
Because there is that, but same concept.
Same concept. However, if you like raw linen and you like the look of that raw linen, any of the ones that we're showing today, including, actually this might be a nice time to bring in the
Well,
the
before we get there, I
specialty
do need to just
Okay,
go
okay,
over the
okay.
last two. We will go over though what you're getting ready to talk about, which is I'm very excited. Those are my favorite. In case you do want to see the linen through and you want to have it primed and you want to have this show through, we have an option.
Yes.
We have an option. But before we get there, and before we get too distracted, we do need to just go over the last two of these. These two. This is the Soho number 31, and this is thick with like 3 C's. And it's not like overly thick where it wouldn't be impossible to stretch, but it's dense. And again, it has a nice stretch to it because it is that, kind of a natural fiber, right?
I'm glad you brought up how thick it is and like how difficult it would be stretching that. It will be difficult to stretch, but the nice thing about stretching raw is that when you prime it, it's going to shrink. So that is always a reason,
Yep.
at least in my mind, plus you have more control.
All right, now the last one that we have is Soho, and this is the number 133. Now this seems really like soft and fine.
Yeah.
So this is, even though it is nice and thin again, and you can kind of see our hands through it, it seems like if I were to try and prime a linen to get to portraiture, I'd probably use that one over the 40. Well, I mean, it's a slightly denser, but it feels softer. Like this feels like it's a little bit rougher. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's hard to show you guys. Okay, so here is 42, and here is 133. So this just seems like the weave is just smoother, whereas like this one has a little bit more texture to it. So if I were trying to prime this to get to a portraiture surface that's really, really smooth, I probably would go with the 133. But if I'm doing, any other, kind of this, I feel like this is a great, run-of-the-mill medium linen.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So that is the Soho. And again, remember, these are your affordable options. And then we have our fun ones. I'm so excited for these. I love these so much.
Sargent. So continuing with linen, this is an unprimed herringbone weave. Typically, with these linens that you've seen already, you can see it's got that like typical boxy weave.
It's like a grid
Yeah, like
weave.
grid weave. The herringbone is beautiful. It makes for beautiful fabrics on clothes and bags and paintings. It adds a nice texture. It's a really, really dense, heavyweight linen.
Yeah, this is, again, thick with 3 C's. Like,
Yeah.
this is a nice, you can't see my hand through it at all. Like, it is densely packed.
Right. And this one, just like these, the jute, the Soho jute and the Soho hemp, they're all so nice that you might just want to paint on them raw. And what I was going to say before, since you can't paint on them raw, you can paint in oil and just glue size it. So you can use either rabbit skin glue or you can use a synthetic glue like PVA sizing from Gamblin. But then you would be able to protect your canvas and see it when you paint.
Yes. Now, these are not specifically linen. It's not the same
Yes,
plant.
these are not linen. They're not flax.
Okay.
This is jute. This is hemp. Hemp is also extremely strong and extremely archival.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got a nice thickness to it as well, but it's got that texture. This is heavily textured, which is great. And then the jute it just reminds me of like a potato sack,
Yeah.
which is it's essentially the
burlap.
same. Yeah, burlap. But you can paint on that, guys.
Yeah.
Again, like you were saying, you can do a clear sizing on this to where you don't lose the beauty of the fibers that you are painting on, but it's still going to be nice and sealed, and you're going to have that barrier between this and your paints to where if you're using acrylics, it's not slurping up all your acrylics, because that's one thing is that painting on unprimed surfaces like this, you burn through your paints because it's just soaking it all up, right? Whereas like if you were to put a clear sizing on it, it sits on that barrier surface kind of a thing. And then there's the Unprimed Sargent, which is just so pretty. Now, to go from, I believe this, what's our next one? What's our next category? Universal Primed Linen.
Yes.
So this is similar to the Primed Cotton, but is like a universal
Right.
primer, but instead of cotton on the base surface, it's going to be linen, right?
Right. So the reason why we were looking at these linens first is because a lot of people will look at these linens online and be like, okay, well, why is that one so much cheaper? I don't understand, right? So the linens themselves, where they are coming from, that plays a huge role. And then also the priming that's used. So we have the Centurion acrylic prime linen. This is like if you want to start using linen, this is like just a go-to, like an easy go-to. It's
Like a nice starting point.
nice-
If you're just wanting to get into it, this isn't
Yeah.
going to kill your pocketbook. It's not like the
And
the
it-
creme de la creme, but it's not bad.
Exactly.
You know, it's a good surface to start with.
the surface is really nice.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've used this several times.
yeah.
I use it in the
Probably
show.
what our most used.
Yeah, we use it
it's-
in the show all of
studio,
the time.
It's a personal favorite.
And then here's the back, so everyone can see. It does have that linen fiber, but it is primed. Now, how many layers of priming? Because we did look this up for you guys.
2.
This is double primed.
Yes.
So
So it has a sealant, like a clear sealant, like we were talking about with the glue size, and then 2 layers of acrylic priming on top of that.
nice. All right, now, just so you guys do know, this also comes in, because it
Everything.
comes in pads. You can also get it in like pads, like sheets of this acrylic primed linen in almost like a sketchbook form,
Yeah.
which is really cool. But it also comes in rolls, it comes in stretch canvas, and it comes in the canvas panels, which is why
All
this
the
is
stuff in the things.
honestly the most used one that we use on the show all of the time. But it's a really nice standard go-to.
Artfix.
Yes.
All
Now,
right.
we've seen Artfix before.
Yes.
For the
and
poly blend.
I was going to explain how Artfix does their naming system.
Yes, because that was the other thing I was curious about, because I see the L22U.
So, the first letter in any Artfix canvas is going to be the type of material it is. So this is linen. If it was cotton, it would say C.
Let's try and find one. I don't know if we have a cotton.
No,
I know
no,
we have
we
the
don't have it.
polyester.
Or actually, no, their cotton doesn't, I think their cotton is like N or something. But we don't have that. But we have the
Here's
P.
the P, because it's polyester.
Polyester. So then you have a number. The first number is the canvas number. So this is canvas number 20.
They're kind of C23, like that's how they do that. Sorry, I just
Yeah,
heard it on
okay,
the
so
replay.
the canvas, so the actual type of linen, so it's linen 20.
Okay.
This linen has 2 coats of primer, so that's why it's L22. That
Makes
means
sense.
2 coats of primer, and the U means it's universal primed. So
So when it comes to that first number, the L20, meaning it's linen, the number 20 linen, is that 20 ounce, or is it just their number of?
no,
That's our
I
number
have
20
no
linen.
idea how they name their or number their linen specifically.
So
I just
what
know
is the weight of this linen? We should have it, I think, somewhere. This is okay.
12.39 ounce.
So this is similar to like the 12-ounce cotton, but instead it's a linen.
Right.
Right? So it's a nice standard, good thickness, you know. It's not as like flexible as this one though, I will say. The Centurion has a little bit more flexibility, which I think that's just the weight of it, because I think this is, the Centurion is a little bit thinner, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the weight of that canvas really, I think, comes into play, is that it's thicker the canvas, the harder it is to kind of bend it around as you prime it. Right? Awesome.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Next up, Clausen's 109.
Here, I'll hold that side, you hold that side. All right, so tell us about 109.
This is a double primed. It's 12.8 ounce. It's a medium weave. This is, again, kind of that middle of the road, like all purpose, can be used for pretty much anything canvas.
Okay, so why would I use that over this? Personal preference?
Personal preference.
Yeah. I was like, it's honestly, they're both very similar in
I'm
weight.
about to throw one more at you.
One
That's
more.
going to be the same thing. These are all going to be personal preference. It's just very similar.
Do they have a difference in weave?
Well,
Because that's where you can really
technically
see
yes,
it.
because these canvases are different. So these are both from Clausen's. One is 109 and one is 166.
I think that's the 160. Yeah, that's the 166.
So the 66 canvas is a little bit different.
It feels like it's a little bit more dense as far, and like a little bit
It's a
finer.
little bit of a tighter weave, I think, for the...
Okay, let's see if we can, yeah. Here we go. All right, so this is 166 and this is 109. Now again, remember this is the back of the canvas because this is the prime surface, but we're showing you the back so you can really see the weave of that. And that's where the biggest difference is going to be, because they're both a medium weight. They're both very similar in how heavy and how they feel as far as like the flexibility. And then this is that Artfix. So again, the weave is just slightly different. So it all comes down to personal preference, but they all should work kind of similarly.
Yeah.
Right? So there's your medium weight canvases. All right.
And then the
Hopefully
last
that's
one
not
we
confusing.
have is the Bellarti Diego. This one is 124-inch acrylic primed linen. So this can be used for murals.
You said 124
comes
inch?
wide.
Yeah. 120, that's huge.
That's a really, really big
That's
canvas.
over 10 feet. That's like 2 of me. That's like me standing on top of your shoulders and then some. I'm impressed with that. That's awesome. So if you guys want to go really big, apparently this is the one to go with, right?
Yeah.
Now, is this the biggest canvas that is out there?
No.
What's the biggest canvas?
We have 163-inch wide unprimed Clausen's linen.
Now, 163 inches. All right, somebody, I cannot be trusted with math. Can somebody convert that to feet? Because, like, I'm just
Over 13 and a half feet.
A lot.
13 and a half. That's like 3 of me. That's insane. So that's the Clausen's, that's a linen,
Yeah.
and that is primed,
Unprimed.
unprimed.
That one's unprimed.
Okay, so that is,
Shipping that primed
huge.
would be...
I was going to ask if that was primed or unprimed. But is it any of the ones that we have on here?
No, it's a heavier one. It's the 26.
Okay, so that kind of makes sense because if it's a really
Yes, it
really
is a
big
very
canvas,
heavy
it needs
linen.
to be very heavy. Because if you guys go 13 and a half feet on a canvas, you need it to be structurally sound,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
But this Bellarti Diego, though, it
But
is
this one-
still very substantial.
Yes.
As far as it's got a nice flexibility to it, even though it is still primed, but that weave is very dense and it's still very fine. Like it feels very smooth. So I'm hoping you guys can see the different weaves on here and be able to compare them and understand. It's so hard to translate that on camera, but that's why we're trying to fluster our way through descriptions of canvas. Hopefully that works. But that was our universal primed linen, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so that was all of them. Do we have any questions on those before we jump into my personal favorites? Yes.
Can we discuss clear gesso?
I'm so glad you asked.
No way.
Okay, guys, we did not plan that. That actually just organically happened. That was beautiful.
Well, I know we're going to talk about the ones that come clear gesso, but they were wondering if you had a preference if they were going to clear gesso themselves, what
Yeah.
would come out the clearest?
Any of them.
They're all
Yeah.
they're all formulated to be
Yeah.
very, very clear. I do know like rabbit skin glue.
Rabbit skin glue, if you
Is-
want to, like, that's the traditional, tried and true. We know that it works and lasts. Whereas the synthetic versions are animal friendly, but they don't have the same history that rabbit skin glue does. So we don't necessarily know as much about that, but
And the longevity
yeah.
kind of a thing.
But I mean, from what we know about plastics and stuff, they just never go away.
No.
So.
No, they don't. So it should last a
So
long
you should be,
time.
it should be
but,
fine.
But yeah, so it's just one of those things that they all should be very, very clear because they are formulated to be that way. If they weren't clear, then they wouldn't be doing the job that they were
Right.
described in doing, and then they wouldn't be.
I personally
on the
use
market.
the Gamblin PVA glue.
Yes, I love that. I have a huge jar of the PVA glue at my house.
I've done the rabbit skin glue, but a double boiler, it's just annoying.
It is a whole process, and it smells, and it is not animal friendly.
Yeah.
I like my rabbits.
It's also a mess.
Yeah, and Katie has a collection of rabbits at home, and like it just. Okay.
Or
So,
you can buy it already primed
all right.
on the roll.
So, tell us about what we have in front of us.
So I'll start with the Sargent because we already saw the Sargent linen.
So, here is the unprimed version, right? And this is primed.
So this is glue sized. So they use a synthetic glue sizing. The nice thing about a synthetic glue also is that it's not going to reheat, which a natural glue can reheat, and there can be issues with mold and things like that.
That's good to know. I did not know that. See?
Organic product.
Yep.
That makes sense. Organic product, yeah.
But basically, and if you were to do it yourself, you just want to get as much glue
probably
in
show
there
this up.
possible so that it's saturated all of the fibers. So it's not like about, you don't think of it as coating the top of it, you think of it as coating the fibers.
Yeah, you want the whole thing soaked through, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but here you can see, yeah, it does stiffen. Let me
Yes.
it does get stiffer, so it's not as like
Yeah.
floppy. But it also darkens it just ever so slightly. But you still get that beautiful texture coming through. And you can paint right on top of this. Now you can
Yeah.
paint on top of this with anything?
Anything.
Anything. Like oils,
Well,
acrylics.
oils and
yeah.
acrylics,
I was like,
yeah.
let's not watercolors.
watercolor.
This is not primed for watercolors, guys. I'm sorry. And this right here is my absolute favorite. I adore this so much. This is one of those things where when I'm doing a painting and I leave this shining through, especially on the edges, or, you know, if I'm kind of doing a partial portrait and only paint like the cheek and the eye and then leave the rest of it raw and kind of sketchy in. This is my favorite. Now, do we have a question real quick?
We do. Lilia on YouTube got some linen pads that she thought was going to be clear primed, but they're actually primed with a white primer.
Mm-hmm.
Can she clear prime the back and use that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Then
yeah,
Be able to, yeah.
I would say absolutely.
it was pads, you said? Okay, so as long as, I mean, the clear prime, the whole point of it is to just be able to see the linen color. So as long as she's happy with the way it looks on the back, then
Yeah.
not a problem.
Is the herringbone weave the same on the front and the back? Or do the weaves differ?
So there is a back to any
Yeah.
canvas.
Here, I can kind of, this is not primed because the prime surface is on the other side, and then this is the front of the canvas. You can
So-
kind of see a slight difference between the two of them.
And usually the issue is more because on the back, that's where when they're weaving it, they'll like change threads. So you'll have the knots and stuff on the back side.
Yeah, it's just not as pretty. Although, I mean, technically speaking,
But it depends on who you're
you
asking.
you could honestly use either side, I would imagine. But as far as the one that is already sized, you can feel a clear difference. Like, this is definitely primed, this
Yeah.
is definitely not. This feels like the natural fiber. So, the herringbone, I adore this so much. Now, let's go over here.
Senso.
Senso.
I love Senso.
It is such a fabulous linen. Again, it is clear primed, but the difference in sizing on this,
This
please
is
explain.
a clear acrylic primer. So the priming on this one, it's not a size. It's like a clear primer instead.
So like a clear gesso,
Yeah, like
kind of.
yeah.
So for the person that was asking if I can gesso my canvas with a clear gesso, this one's already done for you.
yeah.
And again, Senso comes in the pads, it comes in stretched, and it also comes in panels, I believe.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll be going over all of those again. But yes, this is definitely a fantastic, already primed surface for you guys to just go ahead. It is a lot thinner
Yes.
than like the Sargent, because that Sargent is like very dense. This is a nice thin,
Thin, smooth surface. You could use, you can even use like pastels or things like that on the Senso.
and I have, and it looks amazing. Just be aware that, again, pastels are one of those things that, like, it doesn't really stick unless you seal it.
Yeah.
And then the last but not least, we have
My
oil.
favorites.
Yes. It's not my personal favorite, but it's her personal favorites. So again, we have a very thick stack of canvas to go through.
Oil
A lot
prime.
of canvas is personal preference.
It is very
A lot.
personal preference.
Yes.
But Heather works in a lot of oils.
Yes, so I primarily paint in oils, so I really love oil prime linens. The first one I'm going to show you guys is the Sargent, since we've been looking at it in all of its many forms.
Yep.
This is Sargent oil primed. So same canvas, has
So you
a
can
glue
see.
sizing.
Here's the back. So it's just like all of the other ones that we've been looking at.
So
And then here's the primed surface.
and then it's glue sized like what we saw, and then it has 2 coats of oil primer.
So they really sealed the bejeebers out of this, didn't
Yes.
they? So this, you know, it's one of those things that I love getting the canvas that's already prepared for you, because you can just pick it up and go. But then again, this one, that texture really shows through,
Yep.
which is just lovely. It's fabulous. But for oil primed canvas, you would not use, again, I'm here to ask those questions. You would not use acrylics on these, yes?
No.
Because
Listen to the name.
oils,
That
it's like,
means-
it's like oils and water. They
This
just,
is-
it repels the acrylics. So,
You can paint oil on top of acrylic. You cannot paint acrylic on top of oil.
and this is oil primed, so it already has oil in the primer.
Yes.
So it's going to reject all of your acrylics. So
Yes.
don't put acrylics on this, it's
Don't
oil.
do it.
Yes.
This is for oils.
All right, now, the next one we have?
Pissarro.
Yes.
I love Pissarro. Pissarro is, we also have in like 122 inch or 124 inch wide rolls.
Insane.
It's hefty enough that you can do large murals with it, but it also has this really nice medium uniform texture,
Let's do the backside too so I can see that.
which makes it, I think it's perfect for like landscape painting and things like that. So we also have this on plein air panels.
Ooh, that's
So
right. The ones that are really lightweight, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
which we will go over in a future show. We will show you guys.
But this is a very versatile canvas. It's very, like I said, it's very hefty canvas, and it can handle a lot of paint and a large size, but it is also very uniform, which makes it nice that you could even do it on smaller pieces as well.
That's very cool. Now, $1 million question. Why is it yellow?
Oil.
Here's
Oil
the
primers.
Artfix polyester. You can see the difference between those. It is noticeably much more yellow. Now, is there a way to get rid of that?
And the sun. But it will still have some yellow tint.
Yeah.
But if the more that's left out in the sun, it will be bleached by the sun, just like any linseed oil.
Yes. So it is yellow because of the linseed oil content in the primer.
Yes.
That is very good to know. But again, we have a question?
Will the yellow return over time?
Yes. If it's in dark places, yes.
So yeah, if you keep your oil paintings hidden in a dark room for no one to see, which is just mean, those poor paintings, your oil paintings will become sad and turn yellow. So leave them in the sunshine for all to see.
The takeaway is show your artwork to the world.
Show your artwork. So that is the Pissarro. Pissarro. I do that every time. I'm like, don't say that, don't say that, don't say that. Pissarro. Pissarro, Pissarro. I can't help it, I'm sorry. Katie's shaking her head at me. I'm sorry.
Centurion oil primed. Now, bringing up this yellow primer, their primer is actually an alkyd oil, so it's a modified oil primer. So I'm guessing that's why theirs tends to be whiter.
That was my other question, is like, why is this so bright where these other ones are all so, darker on the yellow
Right.
side? And then, again, for you guys to see, here is the back. So for that person who was asking, because they got the pad of canvas that is primed on one side with the, I'm not sure if it's a universal primer or an oil primer, and they want to prime the other side, this is probably what you're seeing, except for that one fiber that's there. Excuse that. But it is still the linen on this side, so you guys can see that weave. Again, this is similar to the one that we use, the universal priming. It's our go-to for the show. If I'm using oils, this is the one I usually go with because it's just a nice run-of-the-mill.
Smooth surface.
It is very nice and smooth.
Yeah.
All right, what else do we have?
Raphael.
Raphael. Now this one, again, we do have the raw edge where the priming started, and you guys can kind of see, let me make sure that that's in the camera, so where you can see the raw linen, and then where the priming's starting, and then the actual fully primed surface. So this is the Raphael oil primed linen, as well as
The Raphael zinc-free oil prime linen. Now, the Raphael linen has, both of them are fantastic. There have been some studies that show that having zinc in underlayers of paintings makes the painting less stable. Most manufacturers have some zinc in their primers. So we had Raphael Bellarti create a zinc-free version of their Raphael linen.
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that's on camera. I am sorry, guys. I'm trying here. But I will say, as far as the surface is concerned, they are almost identical.
Yeah.
But it is incredible to know about the zinc. I never would have thought about that.
Well, there is, I mean, there's a very small amount of zinc in, it's not like they're using zinc as the primary pigment. They're mostly using titanium as their pigment. So it's just a mild adjustment to the formula.
It's good to know. All right, and then the last two I know are your jam, and they make me so nervous.
Yes, and they should.
All right, so these are the Artfix.
All right, so
We have-
Artfix L64C is a beautiful, beautiful fine portrait linen. It is a super, super smooth surface, an extremely uniform weave.
Which, to show them the back side.
Yeah. And
You guys can hopefully, I can even pop it up here. Haha.
it is the smoothest of the smooth that anyone would think of. And then they have L84C.
So what is the difference?
This is so fine. Some people like handkerchief linen or something. Kerchief linen. Someone referred to it.
Hankies.
Hankies. It's like the finest linen. This is the smoothest surface that you can get for oil painting. Period.
All right, so this is the, I'm sorry, hold on. This is the 64C.
Yes.
Sorry, if I can point to it on camera. 64C, this is 84C, and you can
Right.
see the difference in the weave and how so incredibly smooth this is.
And it's beautiful. However, it is so finicky and so delicate.
Which is why I'm very nervous holding this.
If it so much as like lands on a paper clip, it'll then have a paper clip mold on it. So I personally find that 84C is great for things like panels. If you mount it on panels, that is fantastic. And if you are stretching it, smaller works, just because it's very fragile.
Yep.
It is. But it is
Backbone.
Yes,
a
this definitely
beautiful,
needs.
beautiful surface.
So, would you say both of these are for somebody who knows what they're doing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is not something you want to start with.
I mean, if you want to,
I mean, you
great.
can, yeah. But this is not the easiest to stretch, but when it does get stretched properly, it is the most beautiful surface that you've
Yeah.
ever worked on. It is super smooth. Like
It's yummy.
Amanda was saying, kind of like butter. Just in a
Just like
oil
butter.
primed. It's oil primed butter. But they're both very, very smooth. But so the 64C having a little bit more of a density to it, not as, because the 84C is a little bit thinner, right? This is a little bit easier to stretch and work with as opposed to the
Right.
84C. But it's still very, very smooth.
Oh yeah.
Like I can,
Yeah.
I've never like rubbed linen as much as I have on this show. But that is the official last canvas that we were going over,
Yes.
right? I think we've gotten through all of them. Now, I'm
we
sure
did
we
it.
have questions. Feel free, Frida.
Brian would like to know, in a competitive race for best canvas, who would win, cotton or linen? And why is one better than the other, or are they both the same?
That is going to depend on the person judging the race because
Linen.
it's honestly,
100%
no, like
linen.
it's so personal preference. I would say from
But
us, we
linen
both
is
love linen.
stronger.
It is.
Like it has practical qualities that are better.
Yes. But if you're a beginner,
Yeah, cotton's cheaper.
well, I feel like it's a little bit easier to work with.
Why?
Like it's a little bit more forgiving. She's giving
Would
me
your
an
opinion change on that if you were using acrylics with it?
ooh, Katie.
No, because I'm
Katie
thinking
with
of
a left.
stretching.
Because I've always
I'm
had
thinking of
much.
just stretching it.
I've always had much like a better stretch with cotton, but maybe that's just
I've-
because I'm doing it wrong.
I've
She's gonna
had
teach me the right way of doing it in a further show.
a
Make sure
harder
you stay tuned.
time with cotton because it's easier to tear. I've actually torn a painting before because it was cotton.
You are handling your cotton. Heather is hulking out while stretching over here. I
Cotton's a
don't.
real tight.
I'm just
tight
saying,
stretch.
I mean, you do
But
need, yeah.
If you're saying, you know, what's going to be easier for people to stretch, linen is more durable. The fibers are longer, it's stronger. So linen,
Fine.
still going to be better.
She's, honestly, you're the queen of canvas. So what she says goes. Linen wins.
Fine.
Fine. But I feel like it depends on the situation, personally. I have had times where I lean towards cotton, but my personal preference is linen. Now, did we answer all of that question? Because I feel like there were like multiple stages of it. And then we got on a tangent.
I think you pretty much got the general.
The general gist.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because you've been Vanna White showing all of these, you've been touching
I've been
them
trying.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
We have a question on Facebook from
Okay.
Rhiannon that asks, should you be careful how much you handle your canvas with oily, like because of the oils on your hands? Will that affect the paint adhesion, like in real use?
I mean,
I feel like if you're working on an oil primed surface, it's not gonna make any difference, but like maybe the acrylic primed, if you have like lotion on your hands, that might be a problem.
yeah, that's
you know.
just
but like
don't touch surfaces with dirty hands. That's
Yeah.
the only thing I can
The
think
Yes
of.
canvas, I have seen it do that, specifically with watercolor,
Oh, that's
Oh,
true.
but not with, because it's water and oil,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not with other things.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. So
Yeah.
I guess yeah, if you are putting like the El Greco, I feel like would do the same thing, and the Yes canvas, the ones that are more mixed media. If you do use like a water-based media, like a watercolor, and you touch it with the oils on your hands, probably will do that
Yeah.
because I have had that happen
That makes
myself
sense.
too. I forgot about that, but I haven't really had much of a issue unless.
Only with watercolor, never
Yeah.
had it happen with the other thing.
Yeah.
Again, though, I do preface this with, if you have lotion on your hands,
Yes.
that will have an issue because I learned that the hard way. I have just naturally dry hands. I put lotion on my hands all the time. I literally did it before I started the show, and ended up washing my hands because I remembered we're touching all of this. And then I have actually handled, taken a canvas out of its packaging, put it on my easel, and then noticed my hands where I had touched it.
Hand smudges.
Well, it's like with the acrylics was the issue. That kind of almost repels it a little bit because the lotion has an oil to it. So it became a bit of an issue, but it didn't have that much for that long. Like it eventually went away.
Yeah.
I could get a solid coverage over time. But
There you have it.
any other questions? Awesome. Well, if we did miss any of your questions, we will make sure to go through them because I always make sure to go through and comment and everything. But if you guys do have any additional questions for us, we will make sure to go through them, and you can just pop them in the chat below, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, or in the future. We can also double check that. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a lot of canvas that we went over.
It was a lot of canvas.
Yes, but we have more to go over in the next few shows. We have stretcher bars, which is going to be next week.
Yay!
So again, we are kind of compounding on all the information that we are going to be going over. We're starting with canvas, and then we're going to go to stretcher bars, and we're going to talk about the differences between all of those and what would work best for what situation.
Yeah.
And then kind of how they all function together. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. That was a lot.
Yay.
And we will see you guys next week. Again, are you ready? Are we ready to, are we ready?
Oh, I'm Dan. Okay.
Yep. I'm forcing her to dance off.
Now?
So thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.